Welcome back to a new one on this channel. In this occasion, it's the Novation PEAK FX. I made a deep dive about the rest of the synthesizer. Check the links at the description or maybe the cards at the top. Alright, so for the effects section, you have 4 different effects. I know it looks like 3, but you have 4. You have a distortion, a chorus, a delay, and then a reverb. Just to begin, I'm going to start always on an init patch, so it sounds super dull. And let's start with the distortion. It's a pretty simple distortion, but it can go really wild. If I go up on distortion, it gets really cranky, especially when you do resonance and you sweep with the filter. It's a really cool distortion. But you know, it's a very simple distortion. Everything else is going to be about the chorus and the delay and the reverb. Now, if I play something, I go up on the reverb, and on the chorus, and the level is going to decide how much chorus you get. Pretty simple. Then, of course, for the chorus, you have 3 different types. The first one, it's going to be just a 2 taps chorus. The second one is a 4 taps chorus, and the third one is an ensemble. By default, the rate is going to be pretty low on 20, but if you want to go up and get different types of effects, you can. And all, the modes are going to sound a little bit different. Especially when you move the rate. And I'm just pressing one single key right here. Alright, so this is what you can do with the controls that you have right here, right? Just level, the type, and the rate. But if you go to effects, you have an effects global. We're going to talk about that at the end. But then if you go to the chorus, we have one page for the chorus and a second page. Now, the first one, it's going to be the depth of the chorus. And all the way down up on the max. And I'm going to go maybe to the first type of chorus. I'm going to do just 20. But then if you go right here to the first one, this will decide the depth of the chorus. If I go up, it's going to be more obvious, more dense. And if you go all the way down, it's just pretty much nothing. As a simple param, you have a feedback, which is something that you get, just like depth, on pretty much all types of choruses. And you will be getting that flangey type of sound when you go up. And talking about flangey, you have the types. You can go into negatives if you wish. Now, I'm going to go back to 0 for now. There we go. And if I go down, you have the chorus, but you can go to a flanger and you have a pelanger. So these ones are just variations of the chorus, and they added this 2 effects on the latest update of this synthesizer. Now, I cannot say, if you go to flanger, it all depends on the controls right here, the rate, how you use it, and even the modes will make the sound change a little bit. I'm gonna go to maybe feedback and go up on the depth. And again, all of this depends on what you do on the controls. I cannot say that it's just, the best flanger in life, but you get something cool. And you get something else, of course. And the other mode, it's going to be a variation of this flanger called pelanger. And again, changing the modes and the rates and everything else will give you a different sound. Now, I really cannot say that I really like this flanger. It's something that, maybe if you use a pedal, right? A flanger pedal, you're going to get a much better flanger type of effect. And in my opinion, I think the chorus is just way too good to use the flanger or the pelanger. So yeah, that's just my opinion. The chorus is just a fantastic chorus. Now, then the page number 2 is a low pass and a high pass. So maybe I'm way too up on the rate. So the low pass and the high pass will, cut the lows or the highs, and this will affect how the chorus effect sounds. If I go to the other one, to the high pass, I'm going to chop the lows, and I'm going to let the lows pass. Now, all the different effects, they have some kind of a low pass and high pass going on. On this one, again, it's a low pass and high pass, so you can control the low end and the high end a little bit better, how you control the chorus effect. But that's it, of all the effects that you have on this synthesizer, the chorus is the simple one. It's just a very simple type of effect, just 2 pages and not a lot of options. The delay and the reverb are just a little bit different. And okay, so I'm gonna start on an init patch, and if I play, we get the default sound right here on the delay, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna go up on the level, and we are gonna be getting that delay. So this is the time. By default, it's going to be on milliseconds. And if you want, you can sync it. And now you're going to be syncing to whatever is that you have on your ARP clock right here. Whatever tempo you have. I'm going to go to page number 1. My BPM is 120. So it's going to be syncing to 120. It all depends on what you want to do on your sync. It's going to be... And it sounds cool, but it sounds better with the chorus. Alright, so then of course you have the feedback, and I guess at this point, if I go all the way down, it's just one single repetition, and as you go up, it's gonna be endless repetitions. Alright, so this is what you can do from the main panel. If you go to and I'm going to unsync for now. If you go to the effects, you go to the page number 4, and you will have more options. At the top, you have the delay sync, which is pretty much what we are doing right here, but you can do it from here. Then you have the LP, which is low pass, and the high pass damp. Now, this ones will affect the delay when it gets, it goes to the feedback loop and everything else. So it's just a little bit different from the chorus. So if I play something, I'm going to go a little bit faster, maybe around there. And if I go up on the feedback, that's what we get. Now, the repetitions are pretty clean. What we can do with this, we can alter that. If I go here and go to 127, nothing happens. If I go down, all the way down, notice that the first repetition is pretty clean, almost the same, but the other ones are just darker. And they will, of course, go down. This will affect the delay. Same thing with the other one. I'm going to go and let pass everything, and I'm going to go here, and we can hear everything, but now I'm going to chop the lows. So if I play it, this is super thin. The first one, of course, it's pretty clean, but the other ones are thin. So with this, again, you can alter the sound of the repetitions. All right, so I'm going to go back to defaults, which is going to be around there. Maybe I'm going to keep it all the way open. These options really can change when we talk about the page number 6. Let me go right here to the 6. Notice that it says output, and then it says pre-damp. So right now, when I play a key, we get the first repetition, and then we get the rest. So if I do the same thing that we did before, I want darker repetitions. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to make it dark. There we go, almost 30 something. Notice that maybe a little bit more. Notice that the first repetition, and I'm going to go up. The first repetition is super bright, but the other ones are just darker. Now, this all matters right here on the output. Pre-damp, it means that the first ones will go to the loop, and then it will be getting that, going down in brightness because we are just dampening. But if I go here to the output and I select post-damp, now the first repetition will be dark. This is super dark. And you know what? I'm going to make it a little bit more obvious. I'm going to go all the way down. So now, notice that all the repetitions are super dark. I'm going to go to post-damp. All the repetitions. Now, if I go to pre-damp, the first repetition is brighter and the other ones are dark. And all of this, depends on what you want to do. Maybe you want something darker, or you want to just have something different. maybe you want the delay to be in the background and not so much the front. So now when you play something, they're going to be right at the back. But now when I change it to the output and do pre-damp, it's way too aggressive. So this option, you know, when you go to the low pass and high pass, really changes how the delay works. Then when I go right here, you know what? I'm going to go back to an init patch. And right here, you have the defaults. I'm going to go to the next page, and you have the ratio and the slew rate and the width. I'm going to go up on the delay, and I'm going to play something. And this is what we get. Maybe I'm going to go to around 20 and do a little bit of feedback. So the ratio is going to be like your left and the right. It's like a ping pong type of thing. It's not a ping pong, but you know, it is that effect. So you have different profiles. If I go to 1-1, it's going to be nothing. And then if I go to 4-3, what is it? We got that left and right going on. If I go to different ones, the times for the left and the right are going to be different. Let me go up on feedback. If I go to this is completely different. So right here, you need to check different combinations. What else? You have more options, right? You have a lot of different combinations. Now I'm gonna go back to 1-1, and then you have your slew rate. So the slew rate controls the time control, how when we adjust this time control, how it's going to react. So we have it on the 30s around, which is, you know, what you get by default when you move this control. You can hear that pitch detuning. It's not super nice as a maybe Bucket Brigade or maybe analog delay. It's not that nice, but you know, this is what the slew rate controls. If you go down on this control, it means that you will get more of that pitch detuning. As you go up on this control, you will be hearing less of that pitch detuning. So it's faster to adjust the times when you move this control. Now still, you know, you can get really cool, interesting effects when you use this control. Again, maybe 127, it's way too much. I'm going to go to 99. Is it different how it adjusts the times? And if I go too low, it's a little bit different. It's just way too slow. Alright, so, you know, that's what you get, and the default value, it's going to be 32. Then you have the width, and as you could guess, the width is just the width. Right now, it's pretty much mono, but, you know, this will affect the ratios when you use different combinations, and maybe I need to go and have something like that. If I go to width, and it's too wide, maybe you can go down, and now it's a bit more mono. If you go all the way down, it's completely mono. So this can help you to fine-tune your LR ratio. Alright, so by default, all the way up. Then if I go to the next one, you have more options. Like I said before, the delay, it's pretty massive. The first option is going to be the time mode. So you have normal, you have double, you have treble, you have quad lo-fi, and you have hex V lo-fi. For now, I'm going to go back to normal, and I'm going to start an initial patch so we can all start the same. I'm going to go all the way up on this, and maybe I'm going to put it on 20 something, maybe around there. And maybe a little bit of feedback. And I'm going to stay on normal, time mode, normal. Now, behind the scenes, when you change the modes right here, what it will do, and this is something that old delays can do, and they actually decided was the only way to maybe have longer times. that they will stretch the sample rate. Now, when you do that, when you, of course, stretch the sample rate, it will make the delay longer. This is one thing that I'm talking about 80s, maybe delay, maybe even older, they will stretch the sample rate to have longer times, because back in the day, they couldn't, they didn't have the power to make long, maybe 1 second delay. They couldn't do that. So how they did it is by, again, doubling the sample rate. The thing is that when you do that, when you go down the sample rate, you stretch the time, but the quality of the repetitions goes down, and you get a lo-fi type of delay. Back in the day, that was not a good thing, but nowadays, it's a cool little effect. So normal is going to be the cleanest, and maybe I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave it around again 20, and if I play it, it's gonna sound like that. Maybe more feedback. So now normal, still, it's clean. It's clean. Now when I go to the next mode, notice that the times are longer now. So we double the time. So now instead of having a short type of delay, you have a long type of delay. The thing is that this one is still clean. You don't get that lo-fi. Then when you go to treble, it's going to be a little bit longer, but it's still pretty clean. Then if I go to the next one, this one is going to be lo-fi. And this one is just way longer, but notice that the repetitions are lo-fi. Right, so goes way down. I mean the fidelity. If I go to the next one, this one is super long, and it's gonna be super lo-fi. Sounds pretty crappy. Again, maybe with just a delay, it doesn't sound that good. Maybe a little bit of reverb and a little bit of chorus. Gives you, just a different type of delay. All right, so, this is what you get with the time modes, and this is something they added on the latest firmware version. So then you have the type, and for now I'm just going to go back maybe to normal, and if I go to type, you have original, crossfed, and dual. And I'm going to go down to the reverb, down to the chorus, and down on the feedback, so it's just one single repetition. If I play it, that's the original one. If I go to the next one, it sounds completely the same. If I go to the dual, it's just the same, right? So the types really shine when you go up on the feedback. If I go up, now they will sound a little bit different. If I go to the original one, this is what we get. If I go maybe to the crossfed, you get, a different type of sound. And it's the classic crossfed type of delay. If I go to the dual is a little bit different. But is this different? Now the dual, when you go to dual, the ratio really matters because each side has its own delay time. So it almost works like a, maybe a tap delay. So going to different ratios, the dual will react a little bit different. Maybe I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna try this one. And I'm gonna go to the original one. Now this is completely different. Now another thing that you get with the original one and the crossfed and the dual is that notice if I play something is going from left to right and only left and right, hard panned. If I go to the crossfed is going left, right, and center. That's a different thing that you get with this one. And with the dual, you get something different. It's going left and right, but it's going through all the in-betweens as well. So again, you have different styles, different types of delay to play with. And okay, now it's time to talk about the reverb. I'm gonna go back to an init patch, and I'm gonna go up on the reverb, and if I play something, you get a cool, nice reverb. The basic controls are going to be level. If you go all the way down, of course you get nothing. and then you go up and you get something. The time, it's going to be like your decay. And going really up can give you something pretty long. You have 3 different profiles. The one is going to be like a small room, a bigger room, and a much larger type of room. Now the thing is that the 1, 2, and 3 are just like profiles of the same thing. And to see it, we need to go to the effects. I'm going to go here and go to the reverb. Of course, we have the most common options that you could find, but I'm going to go to the, let me find it first. It's going to be the page number 8. That is, it says rev size. Well, right here, if I go to 1, it's going to be 0. If I go to 2, it's going to be 64. And then the 3 is going to be 127, the max you can go. So these ones are profiles of the, the size of the reverb, pretty much. The cool thing is that when you are here, if you want to, you can adjust and go to the in-between values. And notice as a move, it will change right here between the 1, 2, and the 3. I'm going to go back to the number 2. And if I go back to the previous page, the first page of the reverb, you can see that you have a pre-delay, something very common that you get on pretty much any type of reverb. Pre-delay of 0, or if I go up, you will need to fine-tune your pre-delay at taste. So what else do you get? You get the low pass and you get the high pass. These ones are really important because, they will affect the whole reverb process, the processing of the reverb. And depends on what you do here. Let's say, and this one works just like the damp of the delay. If I go all the way up, it's nothing, but if I go all the way down, really affects the reverb. But it's super dark now. I'm gonna go all the way up, and on this one, in the high pass, we are chopping lows. If I go up, that is it gets thin because we are processing the higher frequencies only. I'm gonna go all the way down for now. If I go to the next page, we already talked about the reverb size, but we need to talk about the rest. Okay, so first it's the mod depth. On an algorithmic reverb, what makes this reverb sounds nice is the diffusion and the modulation. If I go all the way down on this one, if I play something, it doesn't sound that good. Now it sounds pretty bouncy, resonant. And it's because it's lacking that movement and that diffusion. So that's going to be the mod depth. If I go up to maybe default values, now we have something else. The cool thing is that you can go all the way up and go really aggressive. And even if I want to go up on this one, now it's going to be, something else. Because it's really diffused and it's kind of a moving. If I go down, it's not the same. Maybe I'm gonna need to go down in time to clean it up. And it's that you almost get that delay. You hear the reflections, but not very diffused. And now, of course, this could be a nice little effect, but depends on what you like. I like this effects with a little bit more movement, a little bit more. Then you have the mod rate, and the mod rate, it's pretty much how the modulation goes. So by default, it's 4. I can go all the way up, and it's gonna sound a little bit crazy. Because it's, again, the other one, what it does, it's gonna be detuning and modulating. So if you go really up, it's gonna be super fast. And you can get those type of sounds. If I go down, it's gonna be a little bit different. More clean and bright. And the other one sounds like super excited and crazy. Alright, so that's it pretty much. Then you get a low pass and a high pass. And maybe you're thinking, why do we get this? Because we already have it. Well, this is different. This is what we do when it goes to the reverb to get processed. This is what we do to, maybe chop the lows and chop the highs. So this is an EQ that goes at the very end of the process. So maybe if the reverb is just way too low, maybe you have a lot of low frequencies, you can go here and chop a little bit of the lows so it's not too bassy. And maybe if you go to the other one, it's going to be chopping the highs. So less dark. And this is how you control the output of the reverb. All right, so what else do we get? Well, if you go to the next one, these ones are about the effect slots. And I already covered this when I did the deep dive about the synthesizer, when I talked about the mod matrix. They really belong to the mod matrix, but they decided to put it here. It's a way to modulate the effects params. I'm going to go back to a default patch and I'm going to go to the first option, the first page. Notice that you have a global. And right here is where you handle all the effects, the combination of all the effects, just like you would do on any other chain or maybe a plugin or an effects. So if I maybe go up on the chorus, I go up on the reverb and maybe a little bit of delay, we get all the different effects at once. And right here, you handle the wet level. If I go down on the wet level, notice that we get nothing. So we get the dry. Now here, if I go up on the wet and I go down on the dry, we are going to be getting just the wet. Right, so we are just getting the wet signal. If you go down on this one, and I'm just giving you the different possibilities. If I go down, notice that you don't get anything. So maybe if you want, let's say that you are going to be getting your full dry, maybe going all the way up on this one, it's just a little bit too aggressive. Well, you can go down on this and just get less of the wet. And, and the other way around. Maybe you want more wet, less dry. So, okay, so I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to the last one, and this is the routing. By default, all the different effects are in parallel. So the sound goes in, it goes to 3 different parallel routes, gets processed by the chorus, then the delay, the effects, and they get all summed at the end, and the sound goes out. But then you have different options. You need to stand there, and if I move it, notice that you have a different chain. Now it's not parallel anymore. Whenever you get out of parallel, it's going to be in series, in chain. And think of this like chaining pedals, right? So we are getting the delay, then it goes to the reverb, and then it goes to the chorus. So now the chain really changed. And when you change the order of the effects or pedals, it really affects the sound, because the delay now is going to the reverb, but most importantly, the reverb sound, which is already super stereo, it's going to the chorus, and this really affects the sound. And you have a lot of different profiles. You have the delay going to the chorus, going to the reverb, then what else? Oh, made a mistake. Then the reverb going to delay, going to chorus, then reverb going to chorus, going to delay, and so on and on and on. So you have different combinations, all the possible combinations. Okay, so we are pretty much done. This video was, it's an additional thing for the deep dive I made about this synthesizer. Check the links at the description or the cards to watch the deep dive. If you liked all of this and you learned something new, remember to like and subscribe. And this channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon.